Today, we are talking about one of the most notorious figures in American history, a name that's basically synonymous with gangster. We're diving into the story of the one and only Al Capone.
Think about it. This guy built an empire on intimidation, bribery, and just straight-up murder. He seemed completely untouchable. So how in the world did a team of accountants manage to take him down? Well, the very thing that paid for his champagne lifestyle, all that money, became his Achilles heel. It's a crazy paradox, and we're going to unpack exactly how it all went down.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it down. We'll look at the two faces of Al Capone, how he built his insane criminal empire, the one event that changed everything, how the feds finally got him, and of course, the legacy he left behind. Let's get right into it.
Okay, first up, you have to understand that Al Capone was a master of PR. He was playing a game of perception, creating this wild dual identity for himself long before that was even really a thing.
And this is what's so fascinating. On the one hand, he really leaned into this public image of being a community benefactor. I mean, during the Great Depression, he opened up soup kitchens that were feeding thousands of people every single day. The public, a lot of them anyway, saw him as this kind of modern-day Robin Hood. But, on the other hand, the reality was that he was an absolutely ruthless mob boss, running his empire on illegal booze, gambling, prostitution, and just unbelievable violence. It's a wild contrast.
And this quote, this is how he sold it. It's kind of brilliant, really. He's not a criminal, oh no. He's just a businessman. He's just a guy providing a service, giving the people what they want, something the government decided they couldn't have. It was an incredibly clever way to frame his whole illegal operation.
So how did he even get so powerful that he needed to justify himself like that? Well, the answer really comes down to this one very specific, very unique moment in American history that was basically tailor-made for a guy like Al Capone.
And that moment was Prohibition. In 1920, the 18th Amendment made it illegal to make, sell, or transport alcohol. But here's the thing. Making it illegal didn't magically make people stop wanting to drink. All it did was create this massive, unbelievably profitable black market. It was a golden opportunity for anyone willing to break the law, and nobody, and I mean nobody, seized that opportunity like Capone.
And man, his rise was just meteoric. He shows up in Chicago in 1919, basically as a bouncer for his mentor, Johnny Torrio. Just a few years later, Torrio barely survives an assassination attempt and decides to get out of the game. So, he hands the whole operation over to Capone. And get this, Capone was only 26 years old. By 1928, he was so rich he was buying mansions down in Florida.
Just try to wrap your head around the scale of this. By 1926, his organization, the Chicago Outfit, was pulling in an estimated $105 million a year. In the 1920s, in today's money, that is literally billions. This wasn't just a gang. It was a full-blown criminal corporation.
I mean, the sheer number of laws he was breaking was staggering. The government eventually tallied up 5,000 separate violations of the Prohibition laws against him. It really seemed like he could get away with anything, until one bloody event made him a problem they couldn't ignore anymore.
Capone had this Robin Hood thing going for him, which gave him a lot of public cover. But one single event was about to completely shatter that image and turn him into America's most wanted man.
So, picture this. It's Valentine's Day, 1929. 7 guys from a rival gang, run by a guy named Bugs Moran, get lured into a garage. Then, 4 of Capone's men walk in, 2 of them dressed as cops. They stage a fake raid, line the 7 men up against the wall, and just execute them with machine guns. It was a level of brutality that was just shocking.
The pictures that came out were gruesome, and they horrified the country. Public opinion, which had kind of looked the other way sometimes, turned hard against Capone. This was different. This wasn't just bootlegging anymore. The newspapers dubbed him public enemy number 1, and the pressure on the government to finally do something became overwhelming.
Now, Capone, of course, was conveniently sitting at his home in Florida, giving him the perfect alibi. But everybody knew. Everybody knew who was behind it. His main rival, Bugs Moran, who was actually the real target but showed up late, said it all. Only Capone kills like that.
This massacre put a giant target on his back.
Okay, so Capone is now public enemy number one, and the federal government is finally ready to throw everything it has at him. They launched this really clever two-pronged attack to put him away for good. On one side, you had the team that gets all the attention, the Untouchables, led by Elliot Ness. These were the guys kicking down doors, raiding breweries, making a big public splash. But at the same time, there was a much quieter and honestly way more effective investigation going on. A tiny team from the IRS, led by this incredibly stubborn accountant named Frank Wilson, was focused on one thing: following the money.
So Wilson and his team spent years, literally years, digging through millions of documents. And then, late one night, they found it: the smoking gun. It wasn't some dramatic confession on a wiretap. It was a simple accountant's ledger from one of Capone's gambling joints. And in it, there was a little note: Frank paid $17,500 for Al. For Al! That was it. That was the first time they could concretely tie Capone himself to actual illegal income.
And in the end, that's what got him. On October 17, 1931, Al Capone was found guilty, not for a single murder, not for bootlegging, not for any of the violence. He was found guilty of tax evasion. He was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. The accountants had won.
But Capone's story doesn't just stop with a prison sentence. His life and his downfall left a huge mark on crime, on law enforcement, and on American culture that we still see today. His legacy is kind of everywhere if you look for it. He was so famous for using cash-heavy businesses like laundromats to hide his illegal profits that he literally gave us the term money laundering. His conviction showed everyone how powerful financial investigation could be, and it directly influenced new laws for fighting financial crime. Once he was sent to the brand-new maximum security Alcatraz prison, his empire just crumbled. His power was gone. And of course, he became the blueprint for almost every gangster you've ever seen in a movie. He's a pop culture icon. Capone's final years were just a sad echo of his old life. A disease he'd had for years, neurosyphilis, had basically destroyed his mind. By the time he was released from prison, he had the mental capacity of a child. The most feared man in America lived out his last few years quietly at his Florida mansion and died at just 48 years old.
So that leaves us with this one big question. Was Al Capone some kind of unique, one-of-a-kind monster, or was he just the inevitable result of his time? An era when the government created a perfect storm for organized crime to rise up and flourish. It's a question that makes his story so much more than just a history lesson. Thanks for watching The Explain.